if every girl's doing that to you, then it's probably not the girls, it's
That's
probably
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did he
And so
say?
like, what are some of those boundaries? Like, how does a guy have boundaries, and what are some of those boundaries that he should be setting for himself? And how does he actually like enforce them?
When it comes to men dealing with women, they have to set their own boundaries in place and decide what they're going to allow a woman to do and what they're not going to allow a woman to do. And so many men have had several experiences, like this guy that you were talking to, where I'm sure the same thing happens to him over and over and over again. So he can go back through his history of experiences with those women and go through and say, when a woman does X, this is what I'm going to say, or this is my rule, or this is my boundary that's in place. When I do not allow women to flake on me at the last minute. I do not allow women to take 3 days to get back to me. And you don't have to be a dick like what my older son was doing when he was punching him, my younger son in the face or screaming at him. He can just clearly say, like, listen, I really enjoy talking to you, getting to know you, but I'm looking for a relationship right now. I really want to get to know somebody and not have somebody write back to me 5 days later. Is that what you're looking for? That's a boundary that you can place, right? And so then she can say, oh yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not seeing that in you. Or she can just totally ignore his response, which basically says the exact same thing. And then he knows, and then he can move on. So that there are no more games to be played. The games happen when you continue feeding in to this kind of rude, disrespectful, subtle communication that women are putting out to you. And you don't state your boundaries, state your claim, state who you are, and state what you want. That's when games happen, when there isn't really honest and clear communication. And so the sooner that you can put a boundary in place, again, not doing it like a dick, but just holding respect for yourself and having clear communication with her about your wants, the sooner you can decide whether or not you guys are good with each other so the games don't have to be continue to be played.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought, that would really help based on everything that you were saying is like, even if you don't directly state, this is my boundary, abide by it or not, it's just like so many guys are afraid to say no or just move
Yes.
on. And I think it all comes down to one thing. So many guys are in scarcity of just like options. And I think has to do a lot with like the mentality going in. So many guys, like they'll watch like Hitch or like all these Hollywood movies that talk about your soulmate. You got to find the perfect one for you. And she's out there somewhere. You just got to keep the faith. And you're intentionally like putting all your chips in one basket. But what if she's not ready for a relationship and you are? What if she wants a relationship and you don't? Or what if she's someone who doesn't, respect your boundaries? And then you're like, just like, but we're soulmates. And so like you persist and stay in there. But all this would be alleviated if you were just a guy who was able to go out and create options for yourself and be able to, for lack of a better term, play the field. So that way, when one girl falls off or starts disrespecting you, it doesn't throw you off,
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's what happens to a lot of guys. They get so caught up in the fact that they have one fish on the hook, or they think they have a fish on the hook, that they forget they can just like, throw this little fish off and put their line back in and see what else is out there. And so they feel like they have to make this situation work. They don't want to start over again because they finally got somebody. So I like what you said about the abundance mentality. And it's difficult to get if you haven't had it before and you continuously end up in this same pattern for yourself where you find a girl, you meet her, she treats you horribly, you stick around for a while, she continues to treat you horribly, and it stretches out over like a couple of months where you're kind of interacting with her every couple of weeks to try to get a little bit of something back. So I think for those guys who are seeing this pattern happen to them repeatedly, the biggest lesson I can give to them is to figure out what boundary you want to set, state the boundary, and then deal with whatever outcome comes from that boundary so that you can move on. And that first step in breaking that pattern will have a domino effect so that you can have women cycling through more often. You can feel like there's more abundance for you, feel more confidence, and then more women will come. I feel like that's the first domino that needs to go down, or I'm not even sure if that's like a good metaphor for this, but like it's the first piece of the puzzle that makes the rest of it come together, is stating a clear boundary that says to the woman, I have self-respect. I know what it is that I want. Are you on board? You not on board? If you're not, I'm out of here. I'm going to go find something else.
Yeah. I think one of the things that helps me break the pattern, because I say this as if I've never dealt with it, but I'll be honest, like I'm speaking to the version of me who was 21 and was a virgin and was getting friend zoned by every girl I had a crush on. So like I can relate to this. And one of the things that really helped me break that pattern was just saying no to someone that I liked.
Yes.
Like the moment I was able to reject a girl that I usually would have stuck around for, despite all the given factors, is the moment I conveyed to myself, like, I deserve better than this, or I want better than this. And there's plenty of opportunity out there. And I know it's like hard to feel that if you've never felt that, but just rejecting someone gives you power. It's like me as a coach, I don't want to take on every person who wants dating advice as a private client, because not every person would be good for me to work with. And I'll be honest, one of the things that I have a standard as for myself as a coach is like, if a guy comes to me for coaching and he's like, the only result I want is Becky from the office who won't even look at me anymore. And I text her all the time and she never texts me back. And I just want Becky. And I'm just like, I don't want to work with you because you probably aren't going to get Becky.
So many guys get into this same loop. And I would say on a daily basis, I probably have about 15 people writing to me with similar situations with a woman that they've been tapping on the shoulder, so to speak, for about 2 to 3 months, trying to get her to change her mind and turn around, when the person's mind and the person's opinion you have to change around is your own, where you sit and you think, do I like this girl? Is she really that cool? Is she respecting me? Do I respect her? What do I enjoy about her anymore? And how much do I respect myself so that I don't have to be wasting my time tapping this person on the shoulder who will not acknowledge my existence? And as soon as you answer those questions and you can answer them confidently and you can say, I don't need this person anymore, setting that boundary in place, that's when you can move forward and start focusing on other people.
I almost like relate this. Is this the same as like when a girl says, oh, this is a deal breaker? Is a boundary basically a deal breaker? Is it the same thing?
No, I would say those are very different things. Like there are things that will be a deal breaker. And I guess it like relates to boundaries. I wouldn't say that they're the exact same thing. So, okay. So here's how I would think of it. A deal breaker for me, which probably is not a real deal breaker because it can change. Let's say it would be somebody that smokes, not into somebody that smokes, right? That's a deal breaker for me. Again, can be adjusted once I get to know the person. But if somebody were to come to me saying, do you want me to introduce you to somebody, blah, 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 he also happens to smoke, I'd probably say, no, that's not my thing. A boundary would be where I would say to myself, okay, in the past, I've had people who have flaked on me 3 times in a row, and I continue to try to make plans with them. The boundary I'm going to put in place is that if I initiate plans with somebody and they flake on me, once is okay, but twice in a row, that boundary is I'm not going to hang out with them anymore, or I'm not going to initiate contact with them anymore. And now they have to come to me to ask for plans. It's like, it's as far as I'll go. That's as far as I will go. And now it's up to somebody else to make their efforts.
That kind of reminds me of like a thing that I used to do when I was like dating around a lot. I have a girlfriend now, so it's a little bit of a different situation. But one of the boundaries that I had for myself was like, if a girl and I related, even if there was a underlying level of attraction there, if we hadn't kissed or like gotten physical at all, and I'd hung out with this girl 3+ times, I just kind of move on, because for me, that is an important part. At least for me, it's one of my boundaries. Not saying it's right for everybody.
Yeah, that's as far as you'll go. Yeah, you're just like, this is not for me. What about? Did you ever talk to these girls about this, or you just cut it off?
I would make it easy for it to happen. So like inviting her up to my place, or wanting to hang out. If I felt like after 3 times of hanging out with this girl, it's just like staying the exact same, and there's no physicality, there's no physical chemistry.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
If your intention is to have some kind of intimate relationship, totally. I agree with that 100%.